Mamelodi Sundowns came through as 2-1 winners in that match. Again, Mokoena, he was not in the squad. Sailor did not come in until 15 minutes were remaining in that match. Is Manqoba Mngqithi justified for not playing these players because he continues to win? Or is he just continuing to be stubborn and needs to change his position on this?
They can win the next 2-3 games. I will say he's continuing to be stubborn because, one, Chiefs, I'll tell you this, right? Of the two guys that were out, Osela comes on as a sub. Everyone in the stadium knows what time it is. Because as soon as he got onto the pitch, all those chances that Dupré missed, he was going to rue them because there was no further entry anymore. Because as soon as Sailor got onto the pitch, it was game over. It was effectively game over. That ball over the top that Chiefs were getting success with, game over. And everyone knew that, right? He gives them that sense of, on the right-hand side, it's locked down. No worries. And when you look at how they played and the shape that they had with Allende playing deep, man struggled. We know that guy to be a quality player, but out of position, he cannot help himself. He doesn't have the physical gifts, doesn't have the engine, he doesn't have the work rate in that particular area. So they were missing a lot of creativity because usually when you've got Uzwane or Allende in tandem working together, it's chances galore. If you look at the fact that they had Matthews, they had Reyners, and they had Ribeiro, usually those guys are feasting on chances. And the person that we could speak of who got the ball a lot was Matthews, who did, I think, quite exceptionally well in the first half, given that Sundowns weren't really at the races up until midway in the first half. So usually if you've got someone who's going to supply those guys of that caliber, that game should be easy. But then you need protection. Protection is Teboho Mokoena, right? So I think Sundowns players are good enough to get you the win. But sometimes you have to get the win comfortably. Sometimes you have to get your goal scorers scoring, because if Ikram Reyners didn't score today, the question marks are going to come because someone like Shaulile is struggling. You're not going to bring him in for Reyners or him for Ribeiro. So I'm just saying he was stubborn. The win glosses over those type of decisions, but for me, Sundowns looked off for much of the game in terms of what we know them to look like. Yes, there were passing patterns, there were things that were happening, but when you look at when Kaizer Chiefs had the ascendancy, Mokoena would have put in a shift. That's the thing that you love about Mokoena, that if he's not having a good day, one thing you definitely can guarantee from him is that he's going to put in a shift defensively. And so when you look at Kutia, he struggled. If you look, but then they had to bring on Abu Tiruk, had to bring on Abu Mdi, but just have that stability. One player could have done that because he gives the midfield a different shape, a different dimension altogether. So they won great. They still got good players. They're not going to suddenly fall off. But I think he's being stubborn. The evidence is there right before his face.
I was getting on board with Manqoba. I was right there. Like, put 4 past Mbabani twice, put 4 past Marumo Gallants, and Sundowns were purring. I see the more direct football. It is working. It is delivering goals. And then we were there at FNB, and I feel like this entire season is going to be a roller coaster for me, because now I've got one foot off the train again, because Chuck, yes, Sundowns won that match, right? And we already covered the fact that there were maybe some things that went their way, and the result itself is glossing over some of those things. The result itself is also glossing over some of his choices in terms of personnel, right? Take Rivaldo Coutinho to begin with. Yeah. Rivaldo Coutinho is amazing in possession. He did find those diagonals to exploit the space behind the Kaizer Chiefs defensive line. That high line as well, he was the one who was most likely to play the pass. But my goodness, when you are in transition defense, Agnamuntu Lapaya, and who is his midfield partner? It's Allende. I'm in my mid-30s, man, but I would call Allende right now, and I would challenge him to a race, and I bet you money, Jack. I bet you good money that I can beat that man in a foot race. So you don't have any legs in that midfield. You've got no dynamism in that midfield. As you were saying, even if Mokoena is not having the absolute best days offensively, or he's not controlling the game, what you're going to have in Mokoena, you're going to have legs. You need some athletes in your team, especially when then your defenders are not the fastest. Every single time that defensive line had to turn around and face their goal and run, it was not good. Like how Ranga scored his goal is because Ulebusa is lacking in pace. So you've got no midfield cover as well whatsoever for that. Come on, man. So you'll get away with it, Chuck, right? When you play against some of the teams in the PSL. But you're going to come across a team like Kaizer Chiefs who do want to play with pace, who are very direct, and they do have young players. They've got pacey players. They've got athletes in their team. That's why you can see in the second half Castillo making that ghosting run into the box, and there's no one to keep up with him. You're gonna come across these teams in Africa in the Champions League, and you're gonna have a problem if you continue to set up this way, because your main rivals would have watched that match and they would have known exactly how to exploit Mamelodi Sundowns. And then when you bring on Usela, as you say, you literally shut down one side of the field by that man's presence by himself. There was a last-ditch tackle on his end. There was him jumping and intercepting a ball, having a greater anticipation than his opponent. There was then another occasion where he was muscling his opponent away from the ball and jockeying it into touch. And as a Sundowns fan, and we were sitting around the Sundowns fan, you felt, Chuck, the confidence just swell up within them when Usela came onto the field, and particularly, as I'm saying, after that slight tackle on the sidelines, there was a sense that, okay, keep calm. Sela now is on the pitch. And how do you have an asset like that? You know how I feel about Sela. I've said for a while now, I think that man is world class. I think that man is at a level beyond the PSL, and he should be playing in a more advanced league than the PSL. And you've got that man on the bench, not because he's injured, not because he's coming back from a suspension or he's been out for a long time and he doesn't have his legs under him, but because there are personal issues. Same thing with Mokoena. He's not even in the squad, and you playing all these players ahead of him. Not to say those players are not good, but they definitely do not give you the same things that Mokoena gives you. Because why? You've got personal issues. Come on, man. Like, this is a professional setting. What are we doing here? You know? And maybe to play devil's advocate, we saw this with Sancho and Ten Hag. But look at what Sancho's doing at Chelsea. Like, you cannot have the man in charge standing in the way of the success of the team because there are personal issues. Sort it out. You are the driver of this bus. Sort it out. You're the adults in the room. Figure it out. Because, as I'm saying, yes, you might have come away with the win against Kaizer Chiefs, but down the line, sometimes we'll get caught out.
I mean, one thing I'll tell you that is a hallmark of Sundowns as far as I'm concerned. Sundowns control games. They might not have 10 shots on target. They might not. But Sundowns are never playing a basketball game where they're going back and forth. But in this one, because of the deficiencies that you're saying in midfield where they were just getting run through, they had to do that. When Sailor comes on, it's different. When Modiba comes on, it's different. They were crying out for Timber Zwane. Fine, I get it. He played his role, but it was not vintage Zwane. But when you have all your pieces in a big game, in a cauldron that is the FNB Stadium, play them, win, make a statement. Because personally, I think it's a bigger statement to say, I played all my cards right, I smashed Kaizer Chiefs 3-0, what now? Versus, I don't need Mokoena, I don't need Sela, and I won anyway. I don't think that's as big a statement. I don't think that's as impressive. For me, put all your best cards on, smash them, and say, Nabi or not, what now? That, for me, makes sense. But Manqoba do what Manqoba does. Asibona ukuthi uzothini and what is he going to do going forward.
Because he's getting through so much work, and he's not cut out for that. Like, he's great as that ball distributor and keeping the possession going and asking him to do the thing that you paid big money for him to do. Now you're asking him to do a job that he's not cut out for, and you're gonna make him look worse than what he is, or look like a lesser player because you're trying to fit a round peg into a square hole. Nah, man, you've got this array of talent and you've got players in these positions. You're deep in these positions, yes, but there are very clear guys who are head and shoulders above the others, or it's very clear these are the guys you need to go with. You cannot as the Kaizer Chiefs fan who were saying, but really saying again, because these are national assets. And Baffoon, Abeza, which is, we need a midfielder. You know, we can use Sailor at right back since you guys they are surplus to requirement at Mamelodi Sundowns. And the truth of that is these guys are playing in the national team and they helped guide Ibafana to a semi-final, third place finish in the AFCON because they're that good. And they're gonna take you to the semi-final. And you came out as the coach, Manqoba, saying that if you do not win the Champions League, it's a failure. I can tell you now, you're gonna fail if you don't play these players.